What's cracking, everybody? It's your boy Jalen Wilson, back with another episode of Illini Fan Rant. This is just a season recap. It's not like a post-game review or anything like that. It's just a season recap, regular season recap. We're gonna have a Big Ten tournament recap, maybe if Illinois makes it if Illinois makes it big in the Big Ten tournament. So season recap. I'm just gonna talk about the lows and the highs of the season. First, I want to talk about the lows because I just want to get the negative ticket, the negative. Why can't I say the word? The negative parts out first. So of course, one of the lowlights was Illinois losing to the rival Missouri. Who wants to lose to Missouri? It was just bad because Illinois played terrible that game. Shot terrible from the free throw land. Like that. Free throw shooting was a low this whole season. It was a low like this whole season. But yeah, the Missouri lost, of course, because they're rivals. I hate talking about that game because it's so weird because Illinois beat them like 3 years or 4 years straight when Illinois was terrible. Maybe not terrible, but they were a bad team. Illinois wasn't a good team. Illinois was a bad team when Illinois beat them. Now all of a sudden Illinois is good. Illinois can't beat them for some apparent reason. Now Missouri is a good team this year, but Missouri wasn't that good of a team last year. They beat us last year. So that's a bad low. Like you never want to lose to your rival. That's always bad in my opinion because you always want to beat your rival. It's always one of the most important games of the season. I would say another low light is the Rutgers game. Why that's a low light? Because I think Illinois could have won that game, but I say that's mostly a low light because the refs were terrible. Now the refs were terrible for most of this season, if we're being honest. So at least when it came to Illinois games, they were terrible. No, nobody liked the Illinois refs. I didn't like not the Illinois refs, but the Big Ten refs. Nobody liked the Big Ten refs really. Like if you pay attention, they just call like little ticky-tacky fouls. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to stop this player from driving to the basket. I gotta touch him at one point. Sorry, I don't know why it's a blocking foul. But I'll say the Rutgers loss is a low light, mainly because Rutgers shot 35 free throws, and I know Illinois is better than Rutgers. Maybe at that time Illinois was struggling a little bit. At least, yeah, I guess Illinois was struggling. I think Illinois was I feel like they were 9-5 at that point. Might be mistaken, but I just felt like it was low because I think Illinois was struggling. It looked like Illinois wasn't that top 25 team that everybody was hopeful for. Another low is losing to Michigan State and losing, of course, losing Ayo Dosunmu because, anytime you lose your best player, that's bad. But you never want to lose to Michigan State. Why? Because I didn't think Michigan State was that good this year. Even though they're a bubble team right now, close to getting into the tournament. But I ain't think not Iowa. Sorry, Michigan State was all that good this year. They just decided to turn up at the right moment. Illinois played terrible that game. That's another low. Not hustling, getting out physical. Like it's a whole bunch of low that game I go into. Free throw shooting. I think if Illinois makes all the free throws, then Illinois has 15 points. If 15 points more, Illinois wins that game. Like losing that game is an extreme low because we play so terrible. No hustle, no box out, no rebounding. Free throw shooting was terrible. Offense was terrible. Defense was terrible. Getting out, you were getting. How do I say this? Michigan State was just more physical that game. I would say another low, if you ask me, was just barely beating Ohio because to where Ohio, I thought, I don't know the record right now, to be honest with y'all, but at that time it was like Ohio is nowhere near Illinois, who's a top. I don't know what was Illinois at that time. Top 6, top 8, somewhere. They were a top 10 team. I know that. So, going into that game, Illinois thought they were going to win. Illinois did win, but they thought they were going to win. But Ohio took them to the last minute and almost beat Illinois. Now, man, how do I say this? Now, some people might be like, "Oh, but they won, Jalen. They won, bro. I don't care. You supposed to blow a team out if you ask me. So you ask me, that's really a low because that's another game where Illinois just showed them not coming out with urgency, and it was just bad, man. But is that all for the lows? I guess that kind of is. Well, I don't really want to go into player lows, but like Georgie, second half of the season, if you ask me, he was bad. Run really provide much. Adam Miller, offense wise, he was a low. Offensive wise, he was a low. Defensive wise, he wasn't. But I guess that's enough time for me, speaking about the lows of this season. Now I want to speak about the highs. The highs to start out was, well, Sumu coming back, Kofi coming back. That was a high before the season. Being ranked a top 10 team to start the season was a high. I think if you ask me, competing with Baylor early on in the season was a high because even though Illinois lost, Illinois was still trying to get things figured out and everything on offense with team chemistry and everything. So, I think that was a high. Man, beating Duke. Now, some people might be like, but Jalen, Duke isn't all that good this year. Now, if you ask me, they aren't. They aren't. They play good in some times of the parts of the season, but other parts they weren't playing good. But if you ask me, that's a high for this season because beating a historic program like Duke, is really, to me, that's well because Illinois isn't this historic program with all these national titles, all these NBA players, this great coach and Coach K. Like that's not Illinois. So beating them was always, to me, that's a high during the season. Especially coming off, I believe that game was just after the Baylor game. I would say another high would be beating Minnesota by, I believe it was 20 plus twice. The second game, Illinois beat them by 23. But the game before that we played them, I don't remember the score, but I saw Illinois beat them by 20 plus, I'm pretty sure. But that was a high because at that point, Minnesota, they weren't a good team in the first matchup, but afterwards I believe they were ranked in top 25 afterwards. They even beat Michigan at one point, blew Michigan out. But after that, Minnesota kind of just went down. It was bad. So Minnesota, second matchup, Andre Cabello ball. I love that. That was a high for that game specifically. And I just thought it was like, I thought it was high because, Minnesota, to where they're not like the best Big Ten team this year, they're still a respectable Big Ten team sometimes. So I thought beating them by 20 plus was good no matter what. Now, another high, which some people might not agree with me on, is, now I want y'all to get this. I'm not saying I was happy he was injured, but I would say another high was Sumu's injury. Not because he got injured. I want everybody to get that out their mind because, well, his injury allowed players to how do I say this? It allowed his teammates to create more, be more assertive on offense, be more, man, what are the words I'm looking for? Just being more creative, like, pushing the ball, moving without the ball on offense. Like Jacob Granson was putting the ball on the floor. DeMonte Williams was putting the ball on the floor. Andre Cabello he was playing like he was an all Big Ten player. If we're just going off those 5 games, our last 4 games, he played like he was an all Big Ten team. He played like he was all Big Ten player. Like not freshman, not all Big Ten freshman, all Big Ten, like through freshman through senior. So I'm just like, man, that's me as a high because it made this team be more assertive on offense and it made them come out with a sense of urgency in games. Like that Michigan game, that was such a high because Michigan was favored to beat Illinois without Io DeSumo. And Illinois said, yeah, okay, they favored to beat us, bet. Illinois beat them by 23. Like without Illinois played without their All-American, without their potential National Player of the Year. Like Io DeSumo, him getting injured isn't a good thing, but if you ask me, it was a high, not for him, not for family, but for his teammates. Of course, beating Wisconsin twice, that's a high. Making to the Big Ten tournament, that's a high. But man, beating Michigan might have been the ultimate high of the season, just because Michigan, you saw some Michigan fans talking crap about how Io DeSumo ain't gonna get none. Then Io DeSumo ended up getting hurt. Then it was like, oh, we just gonna kick the crap out of Illinois. We gonna beat them down. So do are you ready for March 2nd? Man, March 2nd came up as 10 p.m. hit on the clock. Man, hey, them Michigan fans was nowhere to be found. So that was a high, and that's because Illinois played probably the best defense of the season. That's probably the best defensive performance I've ever saw from a college basketball team. Like, you tell me you shut down the number 3 team without your best player? You shut down number 3 team, beat them by 23 without your best player, your All-American, your National Player of the Year candidate? Like, that's the ultimate high for the regular season. Of course, beating Wisconsin's a good high, but not as much as beating Michigan without their best player. Now, Wisconsin was a good team. And they're kind of in right now. They've been struggling. How could I forget Iowa? Man, it was nice to talk to Iowa fans. They were so disrespectful. Talking about, DeMonte Williams sucks. I assume like this good. He ain't better than Luka Garza. Blah, blah, blah. Now, Luka Garza is good, don't get me wrong, but I just think I assume was much better and much more important to his team. But I'm just like, being Iowa's a highlight, mainly because, after the game, fun fact, Lever K2, who's behind the scenes right now, I jumped into snow on, we was on Discord. He made me jump in the snow because Illinois won. So, I was happy. But that was a definite high because, man, I got to talk trash to Iowa fans. Like, Illinois had, but Illinois players and Iowa players had beef this season before. Illinois fans and Iowa fans had beef the season before this season and during this season. Like, that was a high because I got to talk my junk back after that game. Y'all can actually go and watch that video. Y'all can find it somewhere on the channel. Might be in the description, might not be in the description, but that might have been the second high of this season. Like, most importantly, being Ohio State, to me, that was a high because for their only reason, because Illinois still played good and they secured the 1 seed. So, that's, if you ask me, that's a great high. Man, the last high I got is. Last high of the season I got is Illinois getting 2-round buys in the tournament. Like, I think ever since I've been alive, Illinois, I'm 19, by the way. Ever since I've been alive, Illinois has only had like 2 or 1 2-round buys. I believe it was the Frank Williams year and the 05 the Darren Williams, Luther Head, and D Brown year. I'm like, man, that's a high if you ask me. Also, another high soon is going to be getting selected on Selection Sunday. Because I'm just like, man, I haven't saw Illinois get selected on Selection Sunday since, I believe it was 2012? Brandon Paul, DJ Richardson, Tracy Abrams, Joseph Bertrand was on that team. Shout out to Brandon Paul, very underrated, and DJ Richardson. You follow me on Twitter. Shout out to you. Tyler Griffey was on that team. Nana Egwu was a freshman. Man, I actually kind of miss that team sometimes. But like seeing Illinois get selected on Selection Sunday is gonna be a proud move for me because I haven't saw them get selected on Selection Sunday in what 7 years, 8 years now. Like you tell me we can go from 14 to 18 in 2013 or 14 to the 1 seed 6 years later. Man, I'm happy. Anybody be happy with that result. But yeah, that's the last high of the season, if you ask me. Now, Illinois, I believe Illinois plays Thursday. Not Thursday, sorry, my bad. Friday. Between the winner of Indiana and Rutgers. Of course, I'll be giving my post-game reaction to that, of course, like I always do this whole season. And I'll talk to y'all next time. This been your boy Jalen Wilson, well, R1P, and I'm out. Peace.